This month we'll see the next entry in one of the biggest racing game series of the past 10 years, that of course being Forza Horizon 6. The series has been around now for almost 15 years, and when you have a franchise with a big fan base and multiple entries, you tend to see people have formed their own opinions on what makes a great Forza Horizon game. So seeing as the series has been one of my absolute favourites, I've decided to play every single Forza Horizon game and put them in a tier list to see what is the best game in the series. Well, in my opinion anyway. I'll be playing each game back to back, looking at different aspects such as progression, variety in cars and events, gameplay and graphics, and just the map and overall vibe of each game. So sit back, turn up that really catchy house music, as it's time to visit the festival that never ends. Growing up, my favourite genre of game was racing games. The 2000s was definitely the golden age, with franchises like Need for Speed, Midnight Club, Burnout and Gran Turismo all in their prime. There was a racing game for everyone, but at the start of the 2010s the genre started to get a bit stale. Franchises like Burnout, Midnight Club and Juiced were completely gone, and Gran Turismo and Need for Speed were just not hitting the same as they were in the previous generation. In 2012 we'd get a new open world racer from an unlikely place, that being Forza. Mostly known as being Xbox's answer to Gran Turismo, the series would see UK-based developer Playground Games come in and take charge of this new ambitious entry in the simulation-based series. So what did I think when I first played it? Well, I don't have to go too far back, as I only played the original Horizon for the first time all the way back in 2025, so yeah, last year. You'd think that I'd probably say that this is easily the worst game in the series and that it's aged horribly, but you'd be very, very wrong. The first thing that caught my attention in Horizon 1 was just how bare bones it is in terms of race events. The map isn't bloated with different activities and races, you just have a set amount to complete, and over time more and more races get added for you to take part in. The game really tries to have a story with different characters and a traditional progression system. You start off as a random person who gets into the festival at the last minute in your old Volkswagen and has to work their way up to the top, taking on different top drivers along the way to earn wristbands that give you access to more race events. The one thing I really liked about this game was the way the race events are set up. Each race has a different requirement for what car you can use, meaning you'll have to constantly keep buying new cars and help stop the game from getting stale, as you won't just be driving around in the same car all the time. I also enjoyed how you weren't just given lump sums of cash and free cars. You have to grind out races and make sure you're buying and selling the right cars at the right time to make sure you can get past the events. Having the ability to sell cars as well is really unique, as you can't do this in any other game in the series. I got overexcited though, as I sold this Mustang after getting it from a showcase event, which I then needed to buy back for double the money just to enter a few races. Maybe it's best I'm not allowed to sell cars in the newer games. There's also barn finds as well, which have become a series staple. You'll be given points of interest throughout the game on the map, which you'll find a dilapidated car which is yours to keep, and also isn't available to buy from the game's auto show, so it's always fun to see what cars you can find, which in Horizon 1 is quite easy because the map is so restricted. I'm guessing it's going to be there, right there. Oh, there we go, there it is. As I've touched on, the game has characters, and some of these are boss characters for each level of wristband. Once you complete the events in that segment, you then get to take them on in a race to win their car. Don't get me wrong, it's no blacklist from Most Wanted, but still gives you the sense of progression you rarely see in newer games. We also see the debut of the famous showcase events that see you racing against unique vehicles like trains and planes in a one-off event, and they would become a staple in the series from here on out. On top of the standard races and showcase events, you also have street racing, which aren't too different to the main races but still offer more open races to earn some extra cash. In terms of cars, the original Horizon has a pretty small roster of cars compared to later games in the series, with just over 140, which is still massive for an open world game, and you do get a bit of variety, everything from supercars to classic JDM. There's definitely something here for everyone. And of course you can upgrade your cars and turn anything into an S-Class beast, with a few cosmetic upgrades available too. It's not Midnight Club LA levels, but still allows you to customise it to your liking. Honestly, going back to the original game, it was quite refreshing to see the Horizon formula in such a bare bones state. It feels so unique to anything else in the series, and if you're a fan of old school progression in your racing games, definitely check it out. So when it comes to gameplay, Playground Games are in a bit of an awkward situation. Do they make it more simulation based like the main series, or give it more of an arcadey feel like some of the games it was going up against? Well, they decided to do both, as we saw something known as Simcade. A mix of two gameplay styles, which means that you don't have to get your lines absolutely perfect around every corner to get into first, but also you aren't going to be drifting around with the tap of a button. If you've played any Horizon game, this feels exactly the same. It's fun to play. I don't know, there's just something really enjoyable about driving in these games. You can also adjust their difficulty in certain areas, which will give you an extra cash boost. And of course you get the series famous rewind feature, which you can use in races to rewind those big crashes. In terms of graphics, it looks great considering it's an Xbox 360 game. It does have a bit of that piss filter seeping through, but overall I can't complain about the overall look of the Horizon Festival in Colorado. I will say that the car models are showing their age quite a bit, but considering this game is on a console that is now considered retro, definitely still holds up today in both the gameplay and graphics department. So the one thing that really sets the Horizon series apart is its whole vibe and feel. The setting of a music festival mixed with racing is what made the series so unique, and I think the original really captures it perfectly. The one thing that sticks out to me is driving back to the festival at night and seeing the lights and fireworks going off in the distance. The whole feel of the game is also helped by its great soundtrack. The game has 3 radio stations, these being Bass Arena, based on dance music, Pulse, a more pop electronic station, and Rocks, which kind of explains itself. Obviously this game was released in 2012, so there's a lot of dubstep and music in that sort of style, but I don't mind it. It's quite nostalgic hearing music by Skrillex nowadays. There's some great music in this game, with songs by the likes of DJ Fresh, Chase and Status on Bass Arena, and artists like the Black Keys, Arctic Monkeys, Empire of the Sun and Foster the People on the other stations. Listening to this soundtrack is like going back and listening to classic FIFA songs, which for anyone who doesn't know, that's a massive compliment. It's just such a great nostalgic soundtrack and captures the early 2010s perfectly. Another thing that makes the game festival feel real is the use of real life brands sponsoring the festival, like Adidas, G-Shock and a few others. Say what you will about product placement in games, but sometimes having things like this really helps the immersion and gives the game a bit more realism, which is the only time real life brands get featured like this in a Horizon game. I'm assuming Kanye West has been headlining the festival ever since. You also see billboards with the names of the artists who will be performing, which honestly makes Horizon 1 feel the most like an actual festival. I need to also talk about the setting, in which this game is Colorado, which is great, but compared to the other games in the series, it's showing its age quite a bit. It's very restricted in terms of actual spaces you can drive in. It's very much on the rails, you can't break through barriers to get into the more open areas, but still the map does offer a bit of variety to make some great race events, with a perfect mix of rural areas, little towns and industrial areas compared to other games at the time. Colorado was definitely up there, but it's hard to say it's one of the best in the series, as all the other games in the series surpassed it massively. I feel like the original game set the tone perfectly for what would be known as a festival racer. It really did achieve what it set out to do and set the template for what we see to this day. There's not many games you can play for the first time 14 years after the release and playing all its sequels and still find it just as enjoyable as the rest, but the original Horizon is just that. The whole vibe of the game set the tone for what the rest of the series would go on to be, and I'm honestly glad I went back to experience it. It does show its age in certain areas though, and for that reason it's got to go in B tier. In 2014 I finally got my Xbox One, and at the time racing games just weren't hitting the same as they used to. I used to love the genre, but everything I played just missed the mark entirely. That was until I got my first taste of Forza Horizon 2. This game is special to me, as it's the first racing game in years I became properly addicted to. I played it a lot, and it's safe to say it still holds up pretty well today. So let's take a look back at one of my favourite racing games of all time. In Horizon 2, progression has changed quite a bit. There isn't as much emphasis on a cast of characters who you'll face. Instead, the game is set up almost like a traditional Forza game. You'll travel across the border of southern France and Italy, competing in championships. These championships usually consist of 3 or 4 races, which you need to finish as high as possible in each one to come top of the overall competition. At the start of the game, you'll travel across the map to each different location to compete in different championships depending on what car you buy. Each car has a few different runs it can enter, and there are a lot of these to compete in, with over 700 races to go through. The races are exactly the same as the last game, just your standard circuit and sprint, but also this time round there's a few off-road races thrown in for good measure. It's not just racing and showcase events this time round though, there's a few side activities, including the new bucket list activity, where you'll find cars around the map that you can use to compete in different challenges. It's a nice change of pace every now and again. Speaking of cars, Horizon 2 only offers about 50 more than its predecessor, but still, as I say, that is 200 cars for an open world game, which is still quite a big list compared to other games at the time. But sadly, the ability to sell cars is no longer here. Another thing introduced was the levelling up system, which would reward you with things like skill points, which can be used to unlock perks such as permanent cash increases on race winnings, and so on. I also can't forget the introduction of wheel spins. These essentially reward you for levelling up, where you can win a car or a lump sum of cash, and have become a staple of the series ever since. I still get excited seeing that little wheel go around. Horizon 2 definitely added a lot more to the overall progression in the series, with a lot more variety in terms of race types, and just a lot more to see and do in its open world. Horizon 2 was the first game to be released on the Xbox One, so obviously it looks miles better than the previous game. It also released on the 360, but I've never played that version, so I can't really speak on it. But everything from the vibrant world to the car models still holds up today. Also, the game now has a weather system. I didn't realise whilst playing the first game, and it was always dry and it never rained, which isn't the case in this game. It rains all the time. I'm sure the developers planned it that way, because the game looks stunning in the rain, whether that's outside or inside the car. Even when the rain stops, the roads are still wet and the water is still on your car, glistening in the sun. It just looks incredible and definitely makes this one of the best looking games at the time. In terms of gameplay, it's not massively different to the first game. It still has that simcadey feel. I did feel like I was drifting around corners a lot easier, and maybe it was a bit more arcadey this time round, but it's still tons of fun to play. And the AI drivers aren't really that challenging, which the game boasts these aren't AI drivers, and the game uses Drivatars, which uses real players' data to make an AI based version on their driving style, which I mean, okay, doesn't really make much difference to me, but yeah, okay, fair enough. All in all, the game still looks and plays great to this day, and I always have a lot of fun going back to it and playing it 12 years later. This time around, the Horizon Festival takes place in the southern parts of France and Italy, with great views by the ocean and a lot of variety in terms of tight roads through places like Nice, but also massive and open rural areas, offering a bit more off-roading. In my opinion, the map is 1,000 times better than the previous game. There's just so much more variety. 1 minute it looks like this, then a few moments later it looks like this. Couple that with the fact you can drive around the whole world without any barriers or restrictions. It's easy to see why Forza Horizon 2 was such a massive upgrade. The game has such a summer holiday feel as well. The blue skies matched with a vibrant setting really do make you feel like you're driving around southern Europe, and match that with a fantastic soundtrack. The vibe in this game is unmatched. Driving around in a fast car on the coastline with the sun shining, with Overdrive playing on Bass Arena, is just the perfect vibe for a Horizon game, and honestly gives this game in particular such a unique feeling that I don't think has been matched since. This game set the standard in terms of what to expect from the series from here on out. As I said at the start, Horizon 2 was my introduction to the series, and I instantly became a fan. Everything from the vibrant map and great soundtrack to the fun gameplay and massive amount of events. Horizon 2 is everything a sequel should be. Take what made the first game great and do it better, and this game did that perfectly. I always enjoy going back to this game the most. Obviously the series would evolve past this point, and this game does show its age quite a bit compared to the other games in the series, so because of that I'm going to have to put it in A tier. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you're still here, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, so if you could be one of those people to subscribe, that would mean a lot. And it's also the best way to keep up to date on the channel, to see what videos I'm working on next, with a new full-length video every single month. Thank you for supporting the channel. Now let's get back to the video. After becoming a massive fan of the series in 2014, I was excited to see what they had to offer next, and it wouldn't be too long until the game was revealed at E3 2016. And I was excited. The game looked insane and looked to be the most ambitious Horizon game so far, and it wouldn't be too long until Forza Horizon 3 released in September of that year. So, how was he? Horizon 3 switches up the progression yet again, as you are now in charge of the festival and expanding it across Australia. Rather than taking part in championships to climb the leaderboard, you are now trying to attract more people to the festival, to expand it into different regions with a boatload of races and activities. Things like the bucket list and barn finds from previous games return too. Another thing to mention about the races is you now have blueprints which allow you to make your own races with vehicle restrictions and the amount of laps, along with a few other settings. You can also browse community created events to switch things up a bit. The game feels a lot more open than the previous entries, but still has a clear progression system, with an upgraded perk system and of course the return of wheel spins. A massive thing I need to mention is the car list. We went from having just under 200 cars in Horizon 2 to a whopping 421 cars in the base version of Horizon 3. There's so much variety here, and this is the first game in the series that truly has that feeling of endless possibilities when it comes to your car collection. I also need to touch on the fact that the game had something called Upgrade Heroes, certain cars that can be customised in very unique ways, with crazy body kits and other cosmetic items to give you even more choice. Horizon 3 set a new bar for what was possible in an open world racing game, and it definitely was a new standard, which I still think is very hard to beat to this day. When it comes to gameplay, maybe I'm wrong, but Horizon 3 doesn't feel as arcadey as 2. It does seem to lean into simulation a lot more. I didn't feel like I could just drift around corners as much as the last game, which isn't a bad thing, and I feel like the AI was a bit more challenging this time around. I was just boosting straight into first in the previous games. The game honestly looks outstanding as well, and if you told me it was released this year, I would believe you. This was the first game not to release on the 360, and it shows. The setting really helps make this game look great as well. All the different locales just look great to drive around in, and the weather effects like rain look great too. I think Horizon 3 was the game that surprised me the most in how it's aged. I really couldn't believe how well it stood out for a game that's 10 years old. Horizon 3 is definitely worth experiencing. I have to talk about just how good the map of this game is. It's set in Australia, the home of such things as Bluey and the Wiggles. Can you tell I have a small child at home? The setting is honestly perfect, as it has everything you could want from an open world, like the city streets of Byron Bay, the long stretches of road through the outback, and the dirt roads through the rainforest, and so many other interesting places to drive through. The game's just so vibrant as well. Everything is just bright and looks unreal. Playground Games definitely jumped the shark in a good way with this game's map, as I just don't think they can get a location as diverse as this ever again. The game just feels massive, just looking off in the distance and seeing how far you can go, and plus this game allows you to drive anywhere you want with little to no barriers. The soundtrack is also great as well. Like most games in the series, I feel like Base Arena just fits the vibe perfectly, and Horizon 3 has some of the best in the genre. Playing whilst driving through the sunny streets of Australia, the overall vibe of 3 is outstanding. The perfect map, the great soundtrack. I would argue that this is the series at its peak, and it's something that the devs have been chasing ever since. Looking back 10 years later at this game, I think it's safe to say Horizon 3 perfected the formula of the series. A massive library of cars to choose from, one of the most diverse maps we've ever seen, hundreds of races and activities, and a great soundtrack on top of all that. This game is still so much fun to go back to. I haven't spoken about any of the game's DLCs so far, due to some of them not being available anymore, so I just wanted to focus on the base game. But Horizon 3 had the Hot Wheels DLC, which I mean, just look at this. Nothing even comes close to this, and it's just another reason why this game is going in S tier. In 2018 we had another announcement about the next game in the Horizon series. This time around the game would take place in the UK, which I was really excited for. If they could pull this off, this could be one of the best open world racing games of all time. If they got the vibe right like they did in Horizon 2. At the time of the announcement, I didn't even have an Xbox, so I actually bought an Xbox One bundle with this game just to play it. So, how was it? Most games before this have had some sort of goal or objective to progress through the game, but Horizon 4 is just based around you making it through each season, doing showcases and taking part in a few different championships. The events have now been split up into 4 different event types, these being road racing, dirt racing, cross country and street racing. There's no set class for these races either, so you can just enter any event in any car, and as you progress you just unlock more races, not really anything significant for progressing through the game. This for me was the beginning of the end when it came to the progression in the series. I didn't really know what I was doing to progress through the game, just doing races endlessly. One positive thing about the game is the side objectives, called Horizon Stories. These replace the bucket list and are a massive upgrade. You have things like Stunt Driver and the Top Gear activities, among others, and definitely give you more of a variety of things to do than just the standard racing events. It was clear at the time the series was going to focus a lot more on multiplayer, even having things like a Battle Royale introduced, and even cosmetic items and emotes for your character being added to wheel spins. After playing all the games back to back, it was blatantly obvious this is where the series has shifted its focus, which I think for a lot of Horizon players probably isn't a bad thing, but for me personally, I did miss the focus on a single player campaign, which we still got, but it just wasn't as in depth. Playing through these games back to back, I have been noticing slight changes in gameplay. Whether I'm just making this up in my head, I don't know, but Horizon 4 feels arcadey again, just like 2, which isn't a bad thing, but that may be the fact I mostly played the rally type races as opposed to the road racing events, but the AI is still quite challenging though, so it did make for a fun experience still. In terms of the way the game looks, it looks good, but I just think the setting lets it down. Compared to the previous game, Horizon 3, it just looked brighter and better compared to this game. I will say through the winter setting in the snow looks great, especially at night, and it's definitely where the game shines. I'll be honest, Horizon 4 doesn't really offer anything new in terms of its gameplay or graphics. With the bar Horizon 3 set, this game just does its best to match it. Whilst the game does have its moments where it looks stunning, I still think the setting lets it down. Speaking of the setting, let's talk about the map. The game is set in the UK, with the main part of it being set in Edinburgh, in Scotland. Now while I love the feeling of driving on roads that feel familiar to me, going from Australia to Scotland and trying to make it more diverse is a tough thing to do, and they definitely tried, but ultimately it just wasn't going to happen. Don't get me wrong, the map's great, but it feels like a downgrade. If these games swap places, then this would be a perfect entry in the series. The one big thing the game has going for it is the seasons changing, which is ironic that the game is set in the UK, because all 4 seasons normally happen within the same week anyway, so this transition is probably happening in real time. The devs really made each season feel like its own unique version of the map. Even the map menu changing with the seasons is a nice touch. All the foliage changing, even having snowplows on the streets in the winter time. It's such a unique experience you can only get in Horizon 4, but it's a shame you can't change it manually. The soundtrack wasn't that great. There's a few decent songs on the soundtrack, but overall not as memorable as the previous games, which is a shame, because I really wish this game captured that feeling of summer in the UK, with the shitty but catchy house music, which it does every now and again, but not as well as the previous 2 games. Honestly, I don't know what to say on the overall vibe of Horizon 4. The map's great, but I just don't think it could top the previous game. But I can't sit here and say it's bad, because I still enjoy exploring Horizon's version of the UK, but it just feels like something's missing that was present in the previous entries. So yeah, overall I really like Horizon 4, it's still fun to go back to, but I can't help feel like something's missing, whether it's the lack of any real progression or it's just the overall feel. I don't think it's too harsh to say that Horizon 4 felt like a step back, so for that reason I'm going to put it in C tier. Forza Horizon 5. This game probably had the most hype around it for a few different reasons, as it would have an extra year in development and also debut on the next gen hardware, the Xbox Series X and S. The game would be set in Mexico and have the biggest and most varied map in the series history, so let's take a look. So I'm kind of torn on the game's progression, because to say that there isn't any would be a lie, but the way you progress is kind of messy. At the start of the game you're tasked with building the Horizon Festival around Mexico, which has now been broken up into different parts to accommodate different types of races. When you get enough XP to unlock a new section of the festival, you will be taken on a tour to that part of the map before setting up the festival site yourself, and it's honestly quite a good way to set up this game's career progression. But there's one issue: the game is just clogged full of events across the map. It's just quite hard to even know what you need to do next. So just like the previous game, you end up doing races aimlessly, just building up a bar. Another problem the game has is progression in terms of your cars. After a few races, you just get given a few cars, and even some supercars just chilling in your garage, ready to use, which for me personally just puts me off even wanting to play through the game and just use it as a driving simulator more than a racing game. Just like previous games, it seems like there was a large emphasis on online features, such as its own version of a season pass to unlock new and exclusive cars with a ton of new modes thrown in, which I'm not going to lie, I did do back in the day to get this absolute beauty. My favourite addition to the game though was Event Labs, a place where you can browse custom races and maps people have made, and some of them are super unique, adding a whole other element to the game with literally hundreds of custom maps. In terms of variety in what to do in Horizon 5, it probably has the best out of all the series, but I'm just not sold on this game's progression. It definitely has it, but you're not really building up to anything special, just adding 1,000 more markers to the map. So for me, Horizon 5 just ends up being a bit of a disappointment. Obviously this was the game's debut on the brand new Xbox Series X and S, so obviously it looks absolutely flawless, and it's probably the best looking game in the series, which is not really that hard, seeing as it's the newest game in the series on brand new hardware. The world looks great, all the dirt effects when driving through rough terrain look good, and of course the car models do too. I can't really complain on the graphics side of things. As for the gameplay, it's more of the same as Horizon 4. I didn't really notice much of a difference between the two games. It did seem a bit more challenging now, which is not a bad thing. It makes the game more fun to play. When it comes to gameplay and graphics, nothing really stands out in Horizon 5. It's just all much of the same, which definitely isn't a bad thing. Now this is where things go downhill. Horizon 5 could have been the best in the series in terms of its setting and scale, but it just isn't. I don't know what it is or the reason why, but it just feels flat. Mexico is massive, it's quite diverse, but something just seems to be missing. I feel like it tried to be what Horizon 3 was, but without the same personality. Horizon 3 had the soundtrack, the whole vibe of the game was great, but this game just feels flat, and I think the reason why is quite simple actually. Before I started playing these games for this video, I had very distinct memories of playing every single game after the first one. The cars I drove, the map I was driving on, the soundtrack I was listening to, especially when it came to 2 and 3, but for this game I just didn't. Maybe I didn't give it enough time, or maybe it was just a lack of any real progression that really stopped me getting a full experience on what Horizon 5 had to offer. Looking back on Horizon 5, it's quite hard because it has all the ingredients to be a great entry in the series, but for some reason or another it just falls completely flat. I don't hate it, but if I had to choose any Horizon game to play, this would definitely be bottom of that list, and for that reason it's going in D tier. So there we have it, all the Forza Horizon games played and ranked. Let me know in the comments down below how you'd rank them and what you think of my rankings also. I've honestly loved going back and playing through this series. It came out at a time when open world racing games were falling off the face of the earth and completely revolutionised the genre. It's not that long now until we can enter the festival yet again, and this time it seems to be better than ever before, and hopefully it's a return to form for the series, but we'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you when I see ya.